1 July 1916, what would you do if the earth itself seemed to scream? If wounded men begged for help, while bullets tore the air around you, and the ground drank blood faster than you could save it? As dawn broke over the River Somme on 1 July 1916, the opening day of what would become the bloodiest battle in British military history, the battlefield transformed into a living nightmare. And at the center of this horror stood the medics. Unarmed men wearing red crosses that offered no protection against steel or fate, moving forward with stretchers as the whistles blew and tens of thousands of soldiers climbed out of their trenches believing the artillery had destroyed the German defenses, only to be met by intact machine guns that scythed through entire waves within minutes. And amid this chaos, a single field medic's war life captures the terror, courage, and unbearable weight of that day. Trained to save life, but forced to crawl through shell holes filled with water, blood, and severed equipment, he advanced under constant fire, hearing the distinctive ripping sound of MG-08 machine guns and the unnatural silence that followed when a man fell face first into the mud, sometimes sinking so deep that only his helmet remained visible. And as wounded soldiers screamed for their mothers or prayed aloud, the medic faced impossible choices, knowing he could not save everyone. Knowing that stopping for one man might doom another, and yet he went on, dragging bodies by webbing straps, applying crude bandages soaked instantly red, injecting morphine with shaking hands while shells burst close enough to throw dirt into open wounds. And one documented horror of the Somme that medics spoke of in hushed tones was the walking wounded who seemed fine at first glance, but collapsed suddenly when internal injuries took their lives, dying mid-sentence, eyes fixed in shock. While others lay silent, too afraid to move, because snipers deliberately waited for medics to appear before firing again, turning mercy into a death trap. And on that first day alone, more than 57,000 British soldiers became casualties, over 19,000 killed, a number so vast that it overwhelmed every aid post behind the lines, forcing medics to stack the wounded in rows like cargo, choosing who might live and who would be made comfortable enough to die. And as night fell, the battlefield took on a different kind of horror, lit by flares that froze everything in ghostly white, revealing corpses tangled in barbed wire, some still alive and moaning softly, unable to move. And here the medic crawled again, guided by whispers and cries, sometimes finding men who had been lying there since morning, their wounds crawling with flies, their water bottles empty, their hope fading, and there were moments of terror that no training could prepare him for, such as stumbling into a shell crater filled with dead bodies used as cover by the living, or realizing that the warm body he leaned against for rest had no head, torn away hours earlier. Yet even in this nightmare, acts of humanity pierced the darkness, like when a wounded German soldier called for help in broken English and the medic, despite the danger and the hatred of war, treated him the same as his own, because the red cross on his arm meant something deeper than nationality. And the Somme did not end on that day, but dragged on until November 1916, grinding men into mud and memory. Yet 1 July remained its darkest opening chapter, a day that shattered illusions of glory and revealed modern industrial war at its most merciless. And medics under fire carried scars that never healed, haunted by the faces they could not save, by the sound of men drowning in mud inches from safety, by the knowledge that courage did not always change fate. And today, when we speak of the Somme, we speak of strategy and numbers, but rarely of the medic crawling forward while others ran back, of the man who saved lives without firing a shot, who faced horror not to kill, but to preserve what little humanity remained. And if you had been there on that blood-soaked morning of 1 July 1916, surrounded by screams, smoke, and the dead staring with empty eyes, would you have stepped into the open knowing mercy itself could get you killed? And do you believe true bravery is found in pulling the trigger, or in reaching out to save a life, while death hunts you from every direction?